Here's something a little different for you boys. Look at this. It's a Manx-style buggy. This one has a small truck bed on it. I need to upgrade the alternator on this thing. Well, upgrade to an alternator from a generator. Here's the kit to do it. The alternator's there. There's a pedestal and a few other parts that are around here. I started to separate some of the stuff. So there's the pedestal. There's the shroud part, which we may or may not need. I think the generator one might actually be compatible. But here it is. So if we need it, we got it. Might as well just put it in. They also gave us many, many bags of marshmallows. Really nice of them. These are probably Chinese. Look at that. Caution. Don't eat. So anyway, this belonged to the owner and has belonged to him since he was a teenager. And he's an older man now. And he said something about bringing it from Alabama to Florida and recently upgraded the engine, a whole bunch of suspension stuff. And he mentioned those things in the tax office. So when he was converting his titles over, they charged him tax on all of it. Word to the wise, guys. Say as little as possible to the tax office. I'm not saying scam the tax office. I'm just saying don't tell them things. If you submit too much information, sometimes they'll paint you into a corner and you get in a stuck situation where you can't do anything with your damn vehicle, or it's going to cost you $1 million. So, anyway, enough of that. Let's get to work on this thing. The problem we've got is that the generator is really hard to get to. Look at that. It's all buried underneath there because the fiberglass body covers it. Wild Bill's suggestion? Cut it with a sawzall. It's probably the best one. But sans doing any body damage, I think the best way to do this is either going to be to remove the intake manifold so I can pull the whole thing straight out, or possibly, maybe pull the engine out. Now, that's probably not such a big deal on this because all the bolts are pretty well exposed. So it'll be a cheaper operation, and no matter what, I'll probably be removing the intake manifold anyway. I guess we'll see. But I don't like breaking the seals on that kind of stuff because once you do, sometimes you don't seal up right, and then you end up putting it all back together, and you got to take it all back apart again. That's life. So anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to plug that ding bell to get updates every time a video. Check out Duck Shit down there for all my social media links, and we'll be back right after that intro. First things first, got it up on some ramps that are plastic ones, the ones that kill people because they collapse. We're not getting underneath the car if we don't have to, so we'll see what happens when we get that far. But I guess we're going to start by taking that pulley off of there first. So I think that's going to be necessary. We'll start with that. I got my trusty impact ready to go, guys, because you know what they do. Strip nuts. There we go. Halfway there. Job is almost done already. Look at this. Put this back on here so we don't lose anything. We're probably going to end up pulling off this pulley, the arbor, and all the components to reinstall back onto the alternator. But there they are, and they're not being lost. So, yes. Also forgot to mention, I've got the battery disconnected too. I've got the negative pulled off there because it was easier to get to. So, probably doesn't matter as much with the generator removal because there is a regulator there that separates the, and isolates those two circuits. But once we get to the point that we're hooking up the alternator and we start running these, and you can't see it because the contrast is down there, it is, this red wire back to the alternator, which is loose. How about that? Somebody was messing around here. I guess we'll just take it right off. It doesn't need to be there if it's not doing us any good, right? It's gonna come off anyway. I bet you this black wire is also not attached. Yep, that's right. It's also not attached properly. Well, it saved me having to find an 8mm wrench to get started here. It's already done. He told me the generator was bad, so I'm not the least bit surprised if that's the case. I'll just pull this wiring harness out of here. And then the other wire is probably the one that goes off to the coil, so we'll pull that out too to get it out of the way because we're going to be wobbling that shroud. And those wires are pretty snug, so I want to pull them tight and break the ends. Alright. Looking around up under here, and seeing as how there's some little clearance between the top of the shroud and that body, I'm still going to try to, after looking at this now, try to pull pull the shroud up and see if I can get it just high enough to clear that manifold and be able to get that generator and the backing plate for it up and over the top of that manifold. If I can get it just high enough, I could probably wiggle it out. That'll save me from having to tear the entire engine apart in order to get to it. I still need to get the pedestal out though. There's 1, 2, 3 bolts on that side, and then there's one that's way in the back there, and I don't think I can get to that. Sans removing carburetor and maybe even removing fuel pump. In order to get the fuel pump out, I think I'm going to remove the distributor too. So that ain't no fun. And in fact, this distributor just needs to be detached and moved out of the way. It'll make it easier for me to get to the bolts on the carburetor to get it out, because this is not going to lift over the carburetor at all. The carburetor definitely needs to be moved. So that means I need to loosen his throttle. I'll need to get up to the fuel line, which actually has no clamp on it. That's going to come right off. There it is, it's already off. And then I'll just tuck that out of the way. And there's the wire I was tugging on before. And that can be pulled through. Alright, well, it's going to take 2 hands, no big deal. Anyway, we'll get in there and I'll get all that stuff out of the way. And we'll see if we can get the shroud lifted up. Okay, it didn't occur to me at first. Fuel's dripping. That this car probably doesn't even need a fuel pump, and the reason why is because the gas tank lives higher than the carburetor does. So a fuel pump is probably, I think I said fuel tank, fuel pump, tank, I don't know, something. The tank is higher than the carburetor, so gravity could feed that just fine. And I don't think you'd ever have a problem with it. But because it's higher than that, now that I pulled the fuel line off, it's just running, so I need to cap that off so we don't lose too much of the fuel. So let me get that straightened out right now. All right. I figured now's as good a time as any to remove the filler from the pedestal. There's a nut inside of here. It's kind of like a pipe thread. I can't think of any other way to describe it. It's like a pipe thread, and it has a giant flat-headed screw on it. Or at least that's what it looks like. There's a hole, of course, in the middle because it's like a pipe. And there's another tool that goes in there. It's an absolute bullshit tool that's supposed to engage with those slots. And generally it causes more problems than it helps, because what it will do is it'll break the nut. Or it won't engage at all and it'll just come spinning out. Anyway, this is a better tool for that. This is actually what you'd use for, well, pretty much for using loosening and tightening pipes, like plumbing around the house. Anyway, works in here too. It should engage with that nut. And then you can turn it with a, helps to get this thing in here. If this doesn't go in, it will not engage properly. This is the best tool to use. See, there it is, locked in. And you put a ratchet on it, and it should, look at that, on the first try even. And then it should pretty much just spin free from in there. Well, I about got it. I'm going to need 2 hands, I think. But I mean, it's loose. And that's really what counts. Because once the nut starts to come loose, it pretty much spins its way out. Alright, well, I'll mess with that. We'll be right back. Well, I turned the fan on if you hear the background noise. But it turned out it was spinning freely because the nut actually came out like it's supposed to. So there it is. And that's where it would ordinarily go. Now, this tool engages with that nut just like this. You can see how this expands outwards as you turn it. So it eats the inside of this nut and gets it turning. So essentially it turns a blind hole. And of course there is the plus, or not the plus, I should say, the minus, like a flathead screwdriver. A giant flathead screwdriver would probably get it out if you had one big enough. But the tool and empty cells, that stupid little black socket with the giant flathead, yeah, stupid. Garbage. I mean, it might work. I've had limited success with it, but I don't recommend it. This, the right way to do it is with this tool. There it is. Links down below in the video description, I guess, because people always ask, where do you get your tools? Links always below in the description, guys. Look, down below. Video description. There it is. Alright, well now I can get the rest of the pedestal bolts out. And if we get lucky, we might actually be able to lift this thing up and over. And I'm starting to look at it, and I grabbed this crowbar here. And when I put this under here and lift just the slightest bit, you can see the round part of the shroud, the backing plate for the generator, looks like it's just high enough to get it over the intake manifold. So if that's the case, this is going to come out. It shouldn't be too big of a problem. The pedestal's probably still kind of in the way, so that's going to come out too. But Oh, one thing at a time. Okay, I need to take a break again. I get about 20 or 30 minutes out here. It's so damn hot. I gotta take a break. Heat index is 117, guys. And to stand directly in the sun, it's probably way hotter than that. Alright, break time, cold water. And that's thunder that you hear. So we may be taking a break anyway, a forced one. As you can see, I put a tarp over his seats. He didn't tell me I had to cover it in the rain, but I just figured it was a courtesy thing, so I covered him up. I might just cover his switches and steering column too. There's no reason for those to get wet. Well, in fact, I just felt a raindrop on my right ear. Man, that's life for you. Try to get something done. Let's do rain. Every time, rain. Alright, well, I guess I'll stay on this to keep moving bolts. Alright, 3 of the 4 pedestal bolts came off nice and easy. There's one way in the back that I can't reach with a traditional flat wrench. But Dad's toolbox to the rescue. Dad had this nice little S wrench here, and I just remembered that was in there. And he only had one, and it was the 13mm, which is the coincidence of it. Sure enough, guess what? It goes right on that nut and takes it out. So that means I will not have to remove the distributor. I don't have to remove the fuel pump. I'll be able to get this nut out of here just like this. I'm surprised this thing's not loose already. I figured I'd be finger turning it after, 1 or 2 turns like this. But anyway, this is going to get it out. This will solve the problem today and stop me from having to do a lot more work of tearing things down. Alright, go back to both hands. Once that nut is out, I'll give you guys an update. I don't know if I have enough hands to do this, but what I want to do is pull the pedestal out. It means the generator's got to go up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my foot up on the crowbar, lift that out like that, and then maybe this, there it goes. Look at that. And it's out. And that makes it a lot easier to reach these 10mm bolts that are on the bottom. And as suggested before, I think this is going to lift over the manifold. It might take a little bit of fighting. But I think I'll get it out of there. Meanwhile, let's grab a 10mm wrench. I'm going to have to probably wrench that one. I might get in there with a swivel or something. The rest of them I can easily buzz off with my trusty impact! Alright, all 4 of them bolts are out. 3 of them came out nice and easy with my trusty impact. And then the last one I had to use a 10mm wrench to get it out down below there. The swivel socket was too sharp of an angle and I couldn't get the thing turned. So, couldn't use a swivel yet again, guys. Sorry. Everybody's always trying to force me to use one in places that I know damn well they don't work. This was the generator strap. It's serviceable, but it's not the right part for on here. We're going to get rid of that too. Now, this whole generator should start to pull out of the shroud. Now, the fan is attached to the other side of it, and that's the reason why we don't have any clearance. Older fans were, I don't know, 1.5 inches wide or something, and the newer fans are like 2.5 inches. So I don't know which one is on here. I did look at the back side of the shroud to see what kind of shroud this is on it. But the key is, again, we're going to have to lift this thing up, and if I get it up high enough, the shroud should release, here's hoping, the generator with the fan and the backing plate right through here. There it is. That actually worked. I don't believe it. Yeah, this appears to be the older fan. It's the narrow one. The fatter fans are on the later model Beetles. So this one has the oil cooler on the inside of the shroud, and you can see it right there, actually. Right there. No. Yeah, Volkswagen made the fans bigger on later models to give better cooling. Alright, well, this thing is now ready to come apart. We're going to have to pull the arbors off of both sides of it, the fan mount arbor and the pulley mount arbor, and get them mounted up to the alternator and get that put back in. I'm so glad I didn't have to remove this manifold, and I'm so glad I didn't have to remove the distributor. He just built this engine, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and I didn't want to go and mess with his timing or anything else on this. And you may also notice that this is a single advanced distributor. It does not have a vacuum thing on it. It might be a 009. 009s work okay on single ports with smaller carburetors. It would still probably function a little better with an SVDA, but these are actually okay, despite not being the original distributor that belongs on a Volkswagen street-driven engine. Again, 009s are fine on, let's say, an aircraft or a boat or a generator or a compressor, anything that generally runs at the same speed always. But on a street-driven where you're constantly hitting stop signs and red lights, 009s suck, guys. They don't belong on a Volkswagen engine. They were just a cheap fix and got people going over buying a proper SVDA. But again, putting SVDA on here, you'd probably be better off. It would give you that much of an advantage to throttle response when you first round the throttle. Although this one's truly not bad. Single ports make a lot more torque down low than dual ports did. And you said, well, probably why did they upgrade to dual ports? Well, the dual ports gave you more horsepower up high, which gave you a higher top speed. And that was kind of more of people's demands as these things got in the later generations. People wanted to go faster. So that's what they did. It's missing some tins and stuff. But with the engine all exposed like this and not being trapped inside of an engine compartment, it's probably okay. I'd say it gets adequate cooling because it's in the open air. In fact, you could run these without shrouds. Let's say if this were an aircraft, you don't need the shroud at all. Just attach the prop directly to the crank and leave the thing out in the airstream, and guess what? The prop will cool the cylinders. Hell, if you put it on a motorcycle, same thing. It'll be right in the airstream. As long as it's ahead of you. If you put it behind you, I don't think you'd be as good, but to be on the front of the vehicle, the air blows directly into it. It cools it adequately. I've seen people run them that way and be just fine. So, this engine is a hoe. Alright, first we got to get this nut off of here to release the fan. This nut happens to be the same size as your axle nut and the same size as your gland nut. So if you have one socket, and I have a nice 1-inch socket that fits over these, you can actually impact that sucker and spin it right off. So not too big of a deal on that one. And then we'll measure out the spacing behind this thing as we put the new alternator in. You're supposed to use a feeler gauge in here. Make sure you get this gap right. If it's too big, air leaks. If it's too small, well, the fan will actually grind the inside of this to death and make a horrible noise at the same time. So we're going to try not to have that happen. And then, of course, we got to attack the other side. There's one nut to remove the pulley, and then the pulley arbor behind there. Generally, I put the generator in a vise, and I use a small pry bar on either side of it and just wiggle it back and forth, and it comes right out. So I'm probably not going to record all that because it's pretty easy to do. So we'll be back in just a couple minutes, hopefully with the alternator all reconnected, unless I run into a bigger problem, in which case then I'll show you a video. You guys always like to see when I screw up or end up with a situation. There's the fan. We removed that. Also removed the backing plate, which you see right here. Now we got to remove this arbor. This is what mounts the fan on it. Sometimes, almost never, you can pull them right off. Other times you got to gently tap them, and that's actually getting it. It also helps if you are using your one hand to lift up on this. Whoop, there it goes. One hand to lift up on it, and the other one just gently taps it and it'll come off unless it's really nasty rusted. There's also a keyway in there. Don't lose it. You will need it. This one might even have a new one on it, but if you don't, or it's missing for some reason, you want to recover the one that's there. So, okay. Now this pulley comes off the other side, just like that. I'm going to keep a count on those washers. There were some that were under it that I pulled off before I started the video. This one came off. Some of them don't. Sometimes the whole arbor comes off with the pulley, but in this case it didn't. So this arbor needs to come out as well. And I don't think we're going to be as lucky with this one. I might have to get in there with a pry bar and gently pry up on it while tapping it with a hammer to get it out. But that needs to be released. So we're going to need that. Alright, I don't believe it. I had to stop to record this. And another easy one. This is actually coming right off with minimal effort. I'm not going to have to smack it with a hammer or anything. Well, there it is. Now it's stopped. Okay, well, came off about halfway. That's still moving. A little bit at a time. Alright, I guess I might have to beat on it just a little bit, but anyway, I had to show you it actually started to move. Here's our mounting strap. This is the top of the alternator. The bottom of it has this kind of squared off shape on it. Interesting, it has two little teeth in there, but it does. That's for it to wrap around the generator pedestal, or in this case, alternator pedestal. So we'll put it on just like this. This will allow me to reach the bolt from the outside, rather than it being buried over here close to the carburetor, where it may not even fit properly. So that's important. Get that in there. Our arbor is currently installed. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put our washers on there, just like that. You know what? No, not yet. Hang on. That ain't right. You know why it's not right? I know why it's not right, Duckman. Duckman, you lost everything. Here we go. Almost forgot. We got to put the generator backing plate on there. By the way, there's an inlet where the air that goes in. It always faces down. So this one goes just like this also. Because, there we we go. The little washers are in their place. Again, this faces up, so that means this faces down. Alright, we'll run our little 8mm in there, we'll get this thing snugged up, and then we'll put our fan on, and then we'll make sure that we have proper clearance in here like I mentioned earlier. Before I mentioned the possibility of the fan hitting the inside of this plate, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, could you imagine that thing turning over at 10,000 RPMs, rubbing like that? That is a horrible sound, and of course it will eat itself right through the backing plate or destroy the fan in the process. So the fan is actually a little bit warped is what it appears. I'm going to try to gently whack it on the high side and see if I can move it just a little bit. If it'll move, great. If it doesn't, well, then it won't. That means I'm just going to have to add another spacer in there and bring it up a little bit. But yeah, we got a little bit of a fan wobble, and it wasn't doing that when we came here before to start with the thing when it was mounted to the generator, so I'll get it sorted out. There it is. It's just a matter of adding more washers on the inside. Alright, here we go. No rubbing! And all it took was a couple of taps on the high side. Beautiful. I'll check it with a feeler gauge. I forget what the spec is, but if it's fine, I'm not even going to bother coming back to show you how I did it. Otherwise, spec is here on the bottom of the screen. It only took 35 breaks in this heat, but we got the alternator and my sexy leg. Told you guys I never wear pants in my videos. Shirt always, not always pants. But we're ready to throw that thing back into that hole. And that pry bar has done a really good job of counterbalancing it to lift it up just enough to be able to get the thing in there. And I tell you what, if I didn't have the proper stirrups and the spreaders and crap, I wouldn't be a good gynecologist, but I'm getting this job done. That's right. Despite reaching through a tiny little hole, I can make this work. So, first, before I go any further, I probably need to find the bolt that I dropped. I dropped one earlier. I see it. It's way down there. I can fish it out. It didn't fall down inside the cooling fins or something, so not such a big deal. And I'm exhausted, guys. This heat is, it's murder. Absolute murder. I just noticed that his fuel filter is under pressure. Look at that. That's a big no-no. I guess it's a lot better here because it doesn't have an enclosure on it. I mean, most of the fuel, if it does burst all over the place, is going to end up on the ground versus sitting in your cooling tins and everything else. But I'll let him know that. It's not what I was contracted to work on today, but yeah, it's probably not a good spot for it because that means it's permanently under pressure. And if they get the smallest crack in them, they piss all over the place. And the blue square back I had here, in fact, it's still out front. The customer hasn't gotten it yet, but there was one underneath the car. On the right-hand side of the car, you know the fuel line is always on the left, but on the right-hand side is the return line. For some reason, the return line is feeding the car. And there was a secondary fuel filter over here on this side. I never would have found it had there have not been just one little drop of gas on the ground. But the fuel pump was drawing air through it, so the stock pump never got any pressure. And when you connected the electrical pump, which I put on it later to solve that problem because we blamed the pump for it, it would dribble. And I mean, the tiniest little bit, and it would go directly on the ground because it was over the axle. But you'd never see it, you never smell it because it only happened, when it was under pressure. And it took me raising up the front end of the car at a certain amount with a certain amount of gas in the gas tank for me to even notice that one little drop that it made on the ground. Anyway, it's eliminated. They already have a fuel filter up front ahead of the the head of the pump on that car. And I'm doing a lot of yapping about other cars rather than working on this one, but like I said, I'm tired. I don't even want to lift it. Oh, and one more thing. That hardest to reach bolt, or nut I should say, the whole damn stud wound out. So of course it's going to be the one that's hardest to reach that gives me the problem today, isn't it? So I probably should fix that before I even try to put the pedestal back in. The alternator can go in now, it's not going to hurt me none, because it'll be way up here. But yeah, I need to fix that too. Alright, you know what? I'm going to take a break. Come back in a little bit. Alright, after that well-deserved break, I feel much, much better. I put that stud back in, and it turned out the nut that was coming off of it had a boogered thread in it. It didn't fit very good in a 13mm wrench either, so I got a feeling it was never a 13mm nut, and somebody was trying to put something American-sized on there. Possibly a half-inch? Just saying, possibly a half-inch. Anyway, it threaded on, but it just didn't thread on good. Thankfully, the stud's not chewed up. The threads on it are still good. The nut was softer than the threads on the stud were. So anyway, this pedestal is going to go on here, but not next. If this car didn't have this clearance issue, I probably would put this on now and then throw the generator on top of it. But because of the clearancing problems, this is going to have to go on last. We'll have to kind of shoehorn it in there. But the generator itself is here. And it goes in here. Oh! Like that. Is it going to go in? Oh, wow! I don't believe it. It went right in. Thought it was going to be a bigger fight than that. But, guess what? It's upside down because Duckman is a damn idiot. That's okay. We can pull this back and then we can turn this. Just like that. And then push it back in. There it is. So we'll put our bolts back in, the 4 that go on around the perimeter. Get that in place so it's nice and solid. Then we'll lift it up with the crowbar again. Then we'll shoehorn in our generator or alternator pedestal. Yes, they are different from the generator pedestal. For those of you that don't know, let me show you. This is an alternator pedestal, this is the generator. Because the alternator is much fatter in the back end here of it, you need a pedestal with this cutout in it. And no, you can't just cut and modify one of these, unfortunately. It's just not going to work that way. So, this one is what's necessary on here to make this work. So this is going to go in just a minute. Alright, the alternator is in. We got our 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3 at the top over there, and 4. The hard one that nobody could ever reach, guess what? I reached it, I put it in. If you don't know what you're doing, here's our generator strap, alternator strap. See the bolt right under there? There it is. Anyway, I'm going to raise this thing back up, and then in goes our pedestal. Here we go. I know this is going to give me a fight because this alternator is a lot bigger and just beefier by design. Why am I hearing that? Okay, well I guess we're taking it apart again. It wasn't rubbing before, but I guess the tightening of these bolts has warped the plate on the back. Yay. Just what I want to do with. Taking the shit apart again. Yeah, you can't leave it like that. That's bad. Okay. Out it comes. Okay, I realized what it was. It wasn't actually my install that's the problem, and it's not that the plate warped while it's on there. It's the fact that there's no pedestal underneath it. It's causing the alternator to torque itself down, which is making it rub on that backing plate. When this pedestal is underneath it, that won't be the issue, but when I lifted up on this and then spun it, it stopped rubbing. In fact, you hear it now, it's rubbing differently just from me messing with it, but if I push down on it, it rubs worse. So, yeah, that's what it is. It's just a pedestal. I've never done one of these this way before. Typically the pedestal is always in place before I even get started on this. In this case, it wouldn't have been possible because of all this body work up here. And none of this is removable. It's all one piece. This body is one big tub, right, Biddy? You dipshit. He's probably going to start kicking dirt into my fan. And then I'm going to end up with a bunch of dirt in my eyes. He's coming over here, he's going to cause me some problems, isn't he? He doesn't like it when I get on camera. He hears me talking, he attacks me. And when he starts pecking around like that, he's trying to distract me, make me think everything's fine. Yeah, and then you jump on me when I ain't looking. He's done that to me many, many times. Often jumps on me from behind, scratches down my back. It's always hard to explain why you have long scratch marks down your back to your girlfriend. I have a rooster. Yeah, sure you do. Biddy, you suck. Alright, I'm going back to work and keep my eye on. And this is my favorite part of the video. The part where the camera eats up the audio and I'm stuck narrating over it. But anyway, this is a quick reassembly here. You see I'm putting the bolts back in, everything. Getting the shroud reinstalled. Got the pulley turning freely without it making any noise. And now I'm putting the alternator strap on there. Simply bolting that down, 13mm. A whole lot easier with an impact, but of course can't get the impact under there, so not going to be able to do that. It's free, so no more rubbing. This guy here is the tool to tighten the oil fill nut in, or oil breather nut, or whatever you want to call it. So we're reinstalling it here as you see. Don't push the tool in too far because it will collapse on the inside and then it's a lot harder to remove. Not impossible, but just a lot harder. But that installs that. We'll get the belt reinstalled on there and get the carburetor reinstalled. Carburetor goes in here first, apparently. That's what I did. Going to pull out that S-wrench and get the nuts tightened on the bottom of it. Probably will or maybe will not be in this part of the video. I guess we'll just have to see. Narrating over his stuff is a whole lot of fun. Well, anyway, look at that. We got the belt on, and I left the washers the same as they were, and they tension actually seems pretty good. Carburetor's bolted in, got that good to go. I got to put our rotor back here in the distributor. There it is. Make sure we're open here. And then this cap should go on, probably just like that. Yep, locked right in. I didn't take any of the wires off of it previous, so it should still be good. Yeah, okay, what's going on under here? Oh, we got a wire came off. That probably comes off the positive side of the coil. We'll return that to where it belongs then. Meanwhile, let's get this thing clipped in. There we go, good to go. I see we have an open vacuum port on here. That was something that it apparently came that way. I just didn't notice it before, so I'll put a little cap on that before it leaves here. So let's get this wire also connected to where it belongs, which is probably going to be yeah, of course, it's going to be hard to reach all the way around the back. Thanks, guys. When you did this to me, didn't you? Alright. Yeah, I can't get to it without putting two hands. Nope, there it is. Got it. I got it. Oh my god, Duckman, you have the smoothest fingers in the world. You can reach in the tightest places. Yeah, it's done. Okay. Good news, guys. Good news. This is going to tuck under here. This red wire is going to go to the top of our generator. And this black wire was the one that's being used for the idiot light. In this case, it's going to go to the exciter wire. So, I'm going to make the connection to the top one. You know what? I'm not going to do that yet. Here's why. Just thought about it. Because I have to change the connector on this one. And if this one's way up here, it's going to make this wire too short for me to work on it. So I have to cut the end off of that and put a different end on it anyway. Looks like somebody not only crimped it, but also soldered it. You're not supposed to solder these wires on, guys, because if they do get a short on them and they get hot, what's going to happen? Solder's going to melt, and the wires come apart. And that might be a good thing. Maybe the wire coming apart would stop it from burning up. But nonetheless, you're not supposed to solder these wires, so I don't recommend soldering anything automotive anymore. I used to, long time ago when I installed radios and stuff, I used to solder all the connections. Now I just twist them together real nice, make sure that they're almost kind of knotted, and then put a piece of shrink tubing over it, and it's good to go. So I'll fix this here. I'll even put a piece of shrink over it and make it look nice. And then this one needs a new end. Good, fantastic. We're in a great spot right now, guys. I do need to still, of course, pull out the regulator because it doesn't need to be in circuit anymore. And I need to couple these wires together in such a way that, because the regulator is deleted, because the alternator now connects directly to the wiring harness without going through a regulator anymore. It's got its own regulator in it. It's right there. Okay, well, good. I'm a happy duck man. Ah! Okay, our wires are connected. This wire, I had to drill it open because it was too small to fit over the new stud for the positive connection. And the other one now has a blade-style female connector on it, so that way it plugs right in there. So that's good to go. Don't know why the hell I disconnected it. Probably should have just taken my word for it. Got to put the air cleaner on. I haven't done that yet. Yeah, where is it anyway? Here it is. Yeah, what's it going to take to get up there? I'm glad I'm doing this now while the battery's still disconnected, because you touch that positive terminal on that alternator and it'll let you know. Say, I'm here. And I think this went right on there like that. And actually that's a good fit. So yeah, that's where it was. Gotta cover up that bung that's open there. We also need to do some wiring. And where's the wiring, you might say? Looking around in this car, I discovered that the regulator is behind the seat, right in here. And so there it is. So these big wires here, this one, and probably this one, it's screwed in here, and the ones that need to be coupled together. I will check them just to make sure that they are the right ones. You don't want to hook the wrong ones together, of course, because then you have problems. And this one is probably the one that's coming off of the alternator for the exciter wire, if it is an exciter wire. I don't even know, to be quite honest with you. I never checked the schematic on one of them. Anyway, I do not see the generator warning light wire. We may not have one. Unless it's here and it's not being used. Maybe I'll run one for them. I mean, it's kind of important. Let's see, what kind of gauge does he have in here? He's got a stock gauge, and there's no bulb holders in there for it. Okay, I could fix that for him too. I'll ask him if that's what he wants. If that's what he wants, we'll make sure that happens for him. Meanwhile, let's get this thing covered back up. The rain went away from us, but who knows what's going to happen later, right? That's Florida for you. Alright, I'm going to start rounding up some tools, and we'll get out here tomorrow and finish up the wiring on it. Otherwise, it's Taco Tuesday, and guess where I'm going? Out for tacos. See you guys tomorrow. Well, we are back, and everything is finished. I can't believe I'm saying it myself, but yeah, everything's together. I went ahead and finished it all without recording anything because mainly it was just wiring stuff that it's pretty simple and straightforward. As I said in the video that I recorded yesterday, when it came to the wiring, all I had to do was remove the regulator that was in there, connect the two big wires together, and then take the alternator wire, which was the black one, to go all the way up to the front, but it turned out it terminated there. There was no second wire that came back out of the regulator that goes up to the indicator light. So it was never installed. So I made one. That's what this blue wire actually is. A little longer than it needed to be. I didn't want to cut it short. I let him have whatever he's got in case he needs to move it. So this way, you can see he's got other wires here that can be stretched out or moved around too. You asshole, you had to come around here and do this while I'm recording? Been quiet all afternoon. He comes over here. And usually he hangs out on the other side of the yard. Peanut, you idiot. Anyway, I ran the wire up to the front, and then I went to hook it in the alternator light, and then I realized there's no alternator light. So I had to go ahead and install an alternator light also. And then while I was under there, I realized there's no oil light either. There was a wire for it, which does connect to the engine, and it goes all the way back here. It's the only blue wire on the whole car. So I chased the blue wire up underneath the dashboard, and it was just cut off with nothing attached to it. So I said to the owner, I said, would you like me to hook these things up for you and put you in some new lights? And he said, yeah, do that. So, a little upgrade here, and now we have working idiot lights. Check that out. Your voltmeter here does say 13 volts, or approximately 13 volts. And when I start the car, the idiot lights go out like they're supposed to, and the charging jumps up to over 14. So everything is effectively operational on this car, and the owner shall be coming for it soon. So that's the way I change out a generator to an alternator. And here's the jack that I ended up not needing. I thought I was going to end up pulling the engine out, but no. Yeah, I should have a a medicine license for gynecology and obstetrics, with me being able to put my hands up underneath there and pulling that thing out. I tell you what, there was just no room to move. Well, you guys saw in this video. It was really, really difficult to work on this thing. But anyway, it's done. The only thing left I need to do that I just remembered, and I'm glad I didn't forget, is I gotta reconnect the negative terminal on the battery. And, well, it is connected, but tighten the bolt down on it. So I guess that's going to be it for today, guys. So, likey, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to plug that dingle, get updates every time I upload a video. Check out DougShit.net for all my social media links. Be more about other projects coming up soon. In fact, you know what? Let me show you some of this stuff. We got this Super Beetle here, which I think is a flat windshield convertible stupid Beetle. It's a 72, if I'm not mistaken. This has been here before. Yeah, flat windshield. And there it is. It came here not running right. And when I checked the oil, the dipstick was just wet on the tip of it. There was like no oil in it. And that really terrified me if it had been run that way for that long. The other thing that also was the problem is that when you start it up and it's idling, the oil light flickers. So if we have a flickering oil light at idle, that tells me there was a bit of wear done to this engine. So we could do something like put a little Band-Aid on it. The Band-Aid's going to be to put a thicker oil in there. Currently it's just 30 weight. So we can go to a 40 or even a 50 if we have to try to keep that light out and keep the thing lubricated and have it run, you know, several more thousand miles. So no reason we shouldn't. It's just a big old Band-Aid we're slapping on there. I pulled apart the taillight too, because when I was looking over the car, I noticed the taillight wasn't coming on for some reason. So anyway, I meant to buy a bulb for that today, and guess what I forgot to buy? I bought the bulbs for this thing and forgot to get the bulb for this. So anyway, I got more work to do on it, but it's just running kind of choppy. It's really hard to start. And there's a little bit of this and that needs to go over on it, so I'll take care of that soon. And then over here, we got Ruby, and you might say, why the hell does this thing puke wires out the back of it? Why do you have trailer lights sitting on the deck lid of the car? The reason why is because I got my new batch of logic converters built. Check those out, guys. These have fuses built on board. So I'm running through here testing them using these trailer lights. That way I can make sure that they function properly. And if they do, then of course, then they're ready for sale. One of them already shipped. So the first batch of the first one went out to Mark. How's it going, Mark? If you're watching this video. But yeah, the new ones have, oh, look at that, we got a faulty relay. That's an issue. I haven't tested this set of them yet. I only tested the first two, and the first two are good, so I gotta go through the next 4. So I gotta figure out what's wrong with that, replace a relay as necessary. But those will go back into my inventory, because people are asking for these things all the time. I can't believe how many of them I moved. And of course, Ruby runs one for the trailers that are on here, and you know who else needs one? And we're gonna make a video on that coming up soon. Yes, Biddy, I see you. Make sure it wasn't gonna get me. My Beetle, the 72 Beetle you see right here, also needs one on the parking lights, because the parking lights up front are being utilized inside of these glass headlights. See the little orange bulb on the bottom there? It's a single filament. We want them both to flash and come on as parking lights, and guess what they don't do? Yeah, they're flashers only. This car actually has no running lights, so one of those little logic converters will do the trick and allow me to run dual purpose through a single filament bulb, because it's smart. It'll actually allow me to toggle between the two automatically. Right, Bitty boy? Right, Bitty boy? You want to look at the camera? Come here. Come on, come here. Okay, let me see. Come here. Oh, you gonna be aggressive? You gonna fight? Come on. Come on, tough boy. Come on, you tough boy. Come on. Whoop. 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 You know I'm faster than you are. Yeah, you don't seem to realize that ever. I am faster than you, and I can catch you, and I can grab you and turn you upside down and scratch your belly. And you know I do it, and I do it all the time whenever you attack me. Never run from a rooster, guys. Square up with them. That doesn't mean, like, kick them. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do if they're actually punching holes in you, but, yeah, square up with a rooster. You gotta be tougher than them, and they'll back down. They'll run off. And then they'll stop doing that because they remember that you're tougher than they are. This one, though, this one doesn't remember too good. He's an exception. He likes to fight. He does. Although he's still my boy. Yes, he is. Hey, what are you doing over there, huh? I'm staying looking at him. I'm not looking away. Because as soon as I look away, you know what he's going to do to me. He's going to get me. Oh. Yeah, I knew what you were about to do. I knew what you were about to do. Still faster than you, fucker. I'm still faster than you. I'm still faster than you. Yes, I am. I like to let him lunge at me first, and that's when I snatch him out of the air. He's less than a foot away from the camera right now. If I didn't have this wide-angle lens on, all you'd see is his face. And that's what the vignetting is in the corner of the screens, by the way. Anybody that asks about that, do you see it? That little... That's the inside of the lens being photographed. Come here. You made a dust cloud. I don't breathe that. I'll start sneezing. And there's Peanut. That's his son. Yeah. Go over here and have a look at the others. The other chickens got so big. You look at him. He was supposed to be a girl. He's not a girl, even though he had girl markings when he was a baby. He's not a girl. And look at how beautiful Flip is. Flip turned into a big, beautiful mallard-looking duck. He's not a mallard, though. He's way bigger than a mallard, but he even got his curly tail. Just a beautiful, beautiful boy. And way back there in the corner is Shadow. And that's Floppy, the white duck right there. He was quacking like a boy, also a boy. Doesn't walk too good. It has some leg problems that have only gotten worse. Gotten much, much worse. So I make sure that he's well fed. I try to keep him close to the food because he'll wander off into the shrubs or something and get his feet like hooked up. Because they're kind of handyman feet. They're a little tucked under. What's funny is I can pick him up and he'll fan them out like they're fine. But when I put him on the ground, he curls them under. So I don't know if it's a nervous problem or, you know, tendon issue, developmental issue, or what, but he's definitely got some problems. I feel bad for him, I do. So we'll just do the best we can to take care of him, and, well, I spoil the crap out of him. But the others step on him, which is what you're seeing right here, stepping on the poor boy. And then in here is the Cheeky. Right, Cheeky? Cheeky's my best girl. Cheeky's my best girl. Her daughter is actually in my bedroom right now where the air conditioner is running, laying an egg in her nest, because she's got an indoor nest. She likes the AC. Her Cheeky just sits kind of low like that when she's hot. She's not panting, though, but she just sits real flat on the earth. She'll dig a little bit of a hole and sit in the depression. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Talking about you. And then that might be her son squawking in here. Can't see who it is. Let me see who you are. No, it's Peanut. I guess he followed me. I didn't see him. There's her son. That's AW. Also known as Asswipe. Actually, ass words, because he came out of the eggshell backwards. First one I've ever seen here that hatched backwards, and it was also a successful hatch. Sometimes they die when they do that. But he didn't. And there's another one around here. I don't know where the hell he is. There he is. That's Dookie. Dookie's the solar eclipse baby. That's Assword's father. See, he's got no tail because they fight and they pick them out of each other. He also tends to pick his own feathers. And anyway, he doesn't want to be bothered, so I'll let him do his thing. Alright, I guess it's going to be it for today. I got to fix this for the neighbor, too. And that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. You ain't sneaking up on me. I see you.